by Tips.
Hello and welcome to another Tech by Tips video. First of all, I want to thank another donor to the channel. I received that donation from Joey Perdomo. Thank you very much, Joey. You are a rock star. Your donation is really appreciated. You motivate us to continue creating good quality content for people. So thank you very much once again. On today's video, we're going to be discussing another video request. And this video request has also been in the queue for quite a while. And it's because I was honestly trying to get this to work somehow. And this request comes from Andrew's Home Video 1258. And he basically says, thanks, it worked now. Maybe you can also tell how to set up OPDS-PS and more about this technology. I have Pocketbook and iPhone, and my wife has Kindle, but I didn't like Pocketbook app on iOS. So maybe I can change an app for another one and sync book pages with all three devices which we use. So basically he's talking about trying to use the OPDS-PS to try to keep different devices with different applications in sync with the progress of the reading of the ebooks. Right? So I was trying to figure this out for a long time, and I'm gonna give you all that I could figure out about this. Okay? So because you have a very special case, a very unique case. Alright, so to try to explain this very concisely, I'm gonna be using Copilot to kind of go into details of everything and kind of not lose track of what I'm saying. So I asked Copilot, can I run OPDS-PS server in a container, but allowing me to sync progress between devices? And I specifically asked, based on the request from this person, can I sync between Android devices, iOS devices, and Pocketbook devices, for example? And the first thing that it tells us is that we could host an OPDS-PS server in a container, and you can host it many ways. And it let me know that there are applications that offer OPDS-PS as part of their normal functioning. And it mentions applications like Kavita, Comga, which we already set up in a video previously, and Stump. And it says that those can be run in containers and expose an OPDS feed for applications to consume it, right? It didn't mention it here, but Calibre also has an OPDS endpoint that you can connect a device to. So when it comes to using OPDS, yes, you can consume OPDS content and the books that are behind an OPDS server among a bunch of different devices, right? But then it tells me that the difficulty here, and that's what I've been for a whole year trying to figure out, it's syncing the progress across devices. Specifically in his case, because Pocketbook devices have limited support for syncing progress, and we're using OPDS-PS. So in order for you to be able to do something like this, you can using a Pocketbook device, you would have to basically, you have to sideload an application like KO Reader, and that's if it's supported by your model of Pocketbook, which then allows you to use OPDS-PS sync with Kavita in this example they say. So for all the different options that I was looking for, they mentioned Kavita and they mentioned Comga. Comga, we already set it up in a video previously, so you can basically set this up and it'll be available there. And I'm gonna go today and explaining about Calibre. Calibre allows you to do the OPDS server, but I believe it does not have the syncing properties. So you have to, figure it out if it works for your case. If you really need to do the syncing between devices, you would probably be better going with Comga or Kavita. It says basically to sync the progress across the devices, you have to have the KO Reader in the Pocketbook, and then on iOS you have several applications. I'm going to be showing how you use an application called KyBook 3, which allows you to sync and connect to OPDS on an iPhone. There's several options here. You have KO Reader, you have panels. Panels I do not recommend because I was testing this one, and even though you can download the app for free, if you want to connect to some kind of OPDS server, you have to buy some kind of package from them. So ignore that, don't use it in my opinion. KyBook works, and KO Reader I did not try. And then for Android, you have KO Reader as an option. You have Tachiyomi with a Kavita plugin, and there's another one that is called Moon Plus Reader and Librera. that they support the OPDS, but they do not support the sync. So if you want to sync, you would probably have to go with KO Reader because it's available in iOS and Android devices. But I'm going to show KyBook 3 in the demo. And then it says the main reason why this is so difficult is because OPDS-PS is not an official standard. So the support is patchy because it's not an official standard. It's not basically recognized by everyone, so not everyone implements it. So that's why. And then it says, like I was saying before, KO Reader is probably the best option for syncing the progress across devices. So even though I'm not going to do that as a demo, you can find instructions on how to set it up very easily online. And then it says that if you're trying to sync EPUB books specifically using OPDS-PS, that's tricky because of how the books are rendered in the devices. So for example, for comics and PDFs it works well, but for other types of books which the pane is not clearly defined, so for example you have a book from Amazon or something like that, or an EPUB or a MOBI file that is just text, right? It depends on the reader and the application that you're using, how it renders the page. So for example, if your font is too big, then you're going to have a lot more pages because you need to fill more pages, right? But if your font is smaller, then you have less pages. So it's hard to synchronize when you have so much variance between the devices. So that's one other thing which makes it difficult to do the syncing. But you do have an option if you use KO Reader and you use one of these applications like Kavita or Comga for the syncing, because those apparently work well with that. That's basically going into the background of how this works. Now let's kind of cover a little bit more about the standard. So here's a quick details about what is the benefit of OPDS-PS. And basically it says that it's an unofficial extension of the OPDS standard. So it's not the official, it's something that was added by someone later. And the main purpose of that is to allow the client to stream individual pages of a document without having to get the full book downloaded. So that's the main benefit of the OPDS-PS, and that's also why it is difficult to get traction, because it says that it was created by Ubiquiti and aimed to enhance the user experience, especially for comics on connected devices. But since it's not part of the official standard, a lot of people have not really supported it, or it says that another project tried to pick it up and add more features and stuff, but even with its potential benefits, it has not gained traction. And many users just rely on Tachiyomi with the Kavita plugin or Moonreader Plus to access the digital content. And it says that the official OPDS standard, on the other hand, is a syndication format that is based on Atom and HTTP that enables aggregation, distribution, discovery, and acquisition of digital publications. But it doesn't say anything about being able to download only parts of the content, because it looks like this official standard you have to basically download the whole thing and then be able to use it. So that's why, that's the limitation about it. There are some ways to do it, but it's limited. It hasn't been taken by a lot of developers and community, seems like. So that is the limitation on this. Now I want to highlight something. While I was researching panels, I discovered here that there's a few services, two of those that we have already mentioned in the channel and have videos on setting up, that provide you with the OPDS standard for content distribution. And panels also has the capacity to connect to two of those that we have already covered in the channel, which are Comga and Calibre. And basically, if you have a Comga server, there's an application that you can install on your phone, which is Panels, and then you can basically connect it to your Comga server by providing the IP and the port and the credentials to authenticate with it, and then basically you can read your content here and it will do the syncing and all of that. But I only see that Panels is for iOS. I tried to search if there was something related to Panels for Android or other devices. It does not exist. And then the other thing is with Calibre. When we set up Calibre in the channel, if you haven't, go back into the channel and look for install Calibre using Docker and Synology NAS. We set up the content server for Calibre. So this is already enabled if you followed my guide to set up Calibre. You just have to point it to the IP of the NAS or expose the application to the public internet if you want, and then point to the port of the content server. When we set this up, we used 8089 for the application Calibre, and then we had 8090 for the content server. So if we connect to the IP of the NAS and then port 8090, we should have access to the OPDS server, and then you can connect your application to fetch the content from there. Okay, so now I was kind of showing here, this is what you would get if you connect to the endpoint for the content server in Calibre. So it gives you all the content that your application needs to allow you to browse and consume your content using your application, like the applications that we mentioned, like KO Reader or KyBook 3 or any other. So this is going to be it for the theory. If you want to set up Calibre, go to my video that I mentioned here. I set it up properly so that you have your content server. So it'll be very easy to get the content server working, and then you can validate it by going to the IP of the NAS on that port of the content server and then /OPDS. And then in here, you'll get like the prompt for your credentials. You remember have to put an account to connect to this. And I used the Radar. We created an account for Radar to do that. So then you can sign in, and then you can get the information that you need to validate that OPDS is working from Calibre. So now I'm just going to add a short video of how I set up the application KyBook 3 on my iPhone to connect to the Calibre OPDS server. And then that you can see that you can actually see the content that you have in your Calibre instance, and then you can actually download the books to your phone and read them inside the KyBook 3 application. So this is going to be a short video. There's really not a lot I can do here because, I mean, there's limitations to Pocketbook and stuff like that. But at least I've given you here the details that you need to know so that then you can try to set it up yourself. I never use this, honestly. I use my Kindle when I'm reading books. So my Kindle keeps track of where I am when I'm reading books. And sometimes, very seldomly, I use the Comga application to read directly on my computer. Or sometimes I use the Calibre web application to do that too. So, I mean, it's a very rare case. I don't think a lot of people are doing this, but I just wanted to give you information because I've been trying like for a year to get this going, and it's just been a pain. So I'm sharing with you all the information that I have found regarding your specific use case. So that's going to be it for this video. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, because that's very important. That helps us grow. And leave me comments in the comment section below, because all of these videos that I am releasing for the past several months have been mainly video requests from people. So I'll add them to the queue and work on them, and as soon as I get something meaningful, I'll create a video for you. I also prioritize the videos of donors to the channel. If you donate to the channel, I'm going to prioritize you, push you to the front of the queue and get your videos done as soon as I can. And you should have noticed that there was no ad on my video. That is on purpose because I am not monetizing the channel. I don't want to bombard you with ads, but that also means that I do not get any money from the effort that I spend into researching, testing things, and creating these videos for you. So if you like the content, there's going to be a link in the description below to PayPal and also a Bitcoin address. You can donate either way. They'll be really appreciated. I always shout out to the people that donate to the channel in the beginning of the next video that I create. Just know that. And that's going to be it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.